Corduroy by Don Freeman. Corduroy is a bear who once lived in the toy department of a big store. Day after day he waited with all the other animals and dolls for somebody to come along and take him home. The store was always filled with shoppers buying all sorts of things, but no one ever seemed to want a small bear in green overalls. Then one morning a little girl stopped and looked straight into Corduroy's bright eyes. "Oh, Mommy," she said, "look, there's the very bear I've always wanted." "Not today, dear," her mother sighed. "I've spent too much already. Besides, he doesn't look new. He's lost the button to one of his shoulder straps." Corduroy watched them sadly as they walked away. "I didn't know I'd lost a button," he said to himself. "Tonight I'll go and see if I can find it." Late that evening, when all the shoppers had gone and the doors were shut and locked, Corduroy climbed carefully down from his shelf and began searching everywhere on the floor for his lost button. Suddenly he felt the floor moving under him. Quite by accident he had stepped onto an escalator, and up he went. Could this be a mountain, he wondered. I think I've always wanted to climb a mountain. He stepped off the escalator as it reached the next floor, and there before his eyes was a most amazing sight. Tables and chairs and lamps and sofas and rows of beds. "This must be a palace," Corduroy gasped. "I guess I've always wanted to live in a palace." He wandered around admiring the furniture. "This must be a bed," he said. "I've always wanted to sleep in a bed." And up he crawled onto a large, thick mattress. All at once he saw something small and round. "Why, here's my button," he cried. And he tried to pick it up, but like all the other buttons on the mattress, it was tied down tight. He yanked and pulled with both paws until pop, off came the button, and off the mattress Corduroy toppled, bang, into a tall floor lamp. Over it fell with a crash. Corduroy didn't know it, but there was someone else awake in the store. The night watchman was going his rounds on the floor above. When he heard the crash he came dashing down the escalator. "Now who in the world did that?" he exclaimed. "Somebody must be hiding around here." He flashed his light under and over sofas and beds until he came to the biggest bed of all. And there he saw two fuzzy brown ears sticking up from under the cover. "Hello," he said. "How did you get upstairs?" The watchman tucked Corduroy under his arm and carried him down the escalator and set him on the shelf in the toy department with the other animals and dolls. Corduroy was just waking up when the first customers came into the store in the morning. And there, looking at him with a wide, warm smile, was the same little girl he'd seen only the day before. "I'm Lisa," she said, "and you're going to be my very own bear. Last night I counted what I've saved in my piggy bank, and my mother said I could bring you home." "Shall I put him in a box for you?" the saleslady asked. "Oh, no, thank you," Lisa answered, and she carried Corduroy home in her arms. She ran all the way up 4 flights of stairs into her family's apartment and straight to her own room. Corduroy blinked. There was a chair and a chest of drawers, and alongside a girl-sized bed stood a little bed just the right size for him. The room was small, nothing like that enormous palace in the department store. "This must be home," he said. "I know I've always wanted a home." Lisa sat down with Corduroy on her lap and began to sew a button on his overalls. "I like the way you are," she said, "but you'll be more comfortable with your shoulder strap fastened." "You must be a friend," said Corduroy. "I've always wanted a friend." "Me too," said Lisa, and gave him a big hug. A Pocket for Corduroy by Don Freeman. Late one summer afternoon, Lisa and her mother took their laundry to the laundromat. As always on such trips, Lisa carried along her toy bear, Corduroy. The laundromat was a very busy place at this hour. "Now, Corduroy, you sit right here and wait for me," Lisa said. "I'm going to help with our wash." Corduroy waited patiently. Then he suddenly perked up his ears. Lisa's mother was saying, "Be sure to take everything out of your pockets, Lisa dear. You don't want your precious things to get all wet and soapy." "Pockets?" said Corduroy to himself. "I don't have a pocket." He slid off the chair. "I must go find something to make a pocket out of," he said, and he began to look around. First he came to a pile of fancy towels and washcloths, but nothing was the right size or color. Then he saw a huge stack of colorful clothes in a laundry bag. "There ought to be something in here to make a pocket out of," he said. Without hesitating, he climbed inside the bag, which was filled with pieces of wet laundry. The dampness didn't bother Corduroy in the least. "This must be a cave," he said, sighing happily. "I've always wanted to live in a dark, cool cave." When the time came for Lisa to fetch her bear, he was gone. "Oh, Mommy!" she exclaimed. "Corduroy isn't here where I left him." "I'm sorry, honey," said her mother, "but the laundromat will be closing soon, and we must be getting home." Lisa was reluctant to leave without Corduroy, but her mother insisted. "You can come back tomorrow," she said. "I'm sure he will still be here." As they left, a young man wearing an artist's beret was taking his wet laundry out of a bag, the very bag Corduroy had discovered. Before he knew it, Corduroy was being tossed together with all the sheets, shirts, shorts, and slacks inside the dryer. But just as the artist was shutting the glass door, Corduroy tumbled out onto the floor. "How in thunder did that bear ever get mixed up with all my things?" the artist wondered. Poor Corduroy was damp all over. "The least I can do for him is give his overalls a good drying," said the man thoughtfully. He unbuttoned Corduroy's shoulder straps and put his overalls in the dryer. Corduroy grew dizzy as he watched the clothes spinning around, but the artist became inspired. "This would make a wonderful painting," he said as he took a sketch pad out of his pocket and began drawing the swirling colors. "I can hardly wait to get back to my studio." Finally the dryer stopped whirling and the man gathered up the clothes. Then he helped Corduroy put on his warm, dry overalls. All at once the manager of the laundromat called, "Closing time! Everybody out!" Corduroy was gently placed on top of a washing machine. "I wonder who that bear belongs to," said the artist as he was leaving. "Seems to me he should have his name someplace. He's too fine a fellow to be lost." As soon as the lights were turned off, Corduroy began his search again. He was surprised to see something white glowing in the dark. "Maybe it's snow," he said excitedly. "I've always wanted to play in the snow." He accidentally tipped over the open-lidded box, and suddenly he was covered with soft, slippery soap flakes. Gradually, Corduroy began to slip and slide. "Oh, what fun!" he said with a smile. "I've always wanted to ski down a steep mountainside." He landed paws first in an empty laundry basket. "This must be a cage," he said, peeking through the bars. "I've never wanted to live inside a cage like a bear in the zoo." But by now Corduroy felt drowsy, and soon he nodded off to sleep. Next morning when the manager came to open the door of the laundromat, there was Lisa waiting. "I left something here yesterday," she explained. "May I look around?" "Certainly," said the manager. "My customers are always leaving things." Lisa was searching under the chairs and in back of the washing machines when she heard the manager call her. "Is this what you're looking for, señorita?" "Yes, yes, he's my best friend," shouted Lisa as she came running. She reached in and picked Corduroy out of the basket. "So this is where you've been, you little rascal," she said. "It's time I took you home." Lisa thanked the manager and ran out the door and down the street, holding Corduroy tightly in her arms. "I thought I told you to wait for me," she said. "Why did you wander away?" "I went looking for a pocket," Corduroy said. "Oh, Corduroy, why didn't you tell me you wanted a pocket?" asked Lisa, giving him an affectionate squeeze. That very morning, Lisa sewed a pocket on Corduroy's overalls. "And here is a card I've made with your name on it for you to keep tucked inside," she said. "I've always wanted a purple pocket with my name tucked inside," said Corduroy as he and Lisa nuzzled noses. Corduroy Goes to the Doctor by Don Freeman. Corduroy likes to go to the doctor. The waiting room has toys and books. Corduroy, it's your turn. Corduroy gets undressed. He's grown a lot this year and gained a lot of pounds. Too many cookies, Corduroy. The doctor looks at his throat. Say, "Ah," Corduroy. He looks in his ears and his eyes. He listens to his heart. Take a deep breath, Corduroy. "Do I get a shot?" asks Corduroy. "Yes," says the doctor. "We don't want you to get sick." Corduroy is very brave. He gets a balloon and a button. Good boy, Corduroy. Corduroy Makes a Cake. Story by Alison Inches. Illustrations by Allan Eitzen. Based on the characters created by Don Freeman. Lisa slipped on her backpack. "Today is my birthday," she said. "I'm having a party." Lisa gave Corduroy a hug. Then she left for school. A birthday party, thought Corduroy. I love birthday parties. I will make Lisa a corduroy cake. Corduroy put on an apron and a cook's hat. He got everything he needed. 1 cake mix, 2 cake pans, 2 cans of pink frosting, 1 bowl, 2 eggs, 1 cup of water. And one thing he did not need. Crash! A bag of flour. Corduroy dusted himself off. Then, rip! He opened the cake mix and dumped it into the bowl. Crack, plop, splash! He added the eggs and water. Then he turned on the mixer. Low, whir, medium, whir, full blast, whir! The batter hit the walls. It hit the floor. It hit Corduroy. "This is fun," said Corduroy. Then he put the batter into the pans. But there was not enough batter. "Oh dear," said Corduroy. "I need more cake mix." He looked high and low, but there was no more cake mix. Then he saw a box on the counter. He opened it and looked inside. "A cake," said Corduroy. "Now I don't need to make one." But the cake had nothing on it. "It needs words," said Corduroy. He opened the pink frosting and put it into a bag. "I can write on it," he said. "But first, I need practice." He took the frosting to the bathroom. He practiced on the tub. He practiced on the counter. He even practiced on the mirror. "Wow," said Corduroy. "Now I am good." Then, click, he heard a key in the door. "Uh-oh," said Corduroy. "Somebody's coming." He ran into the sewing room. He shut the door and hid under a shelf. Clunk! A round box landed on Corduroy's head. Then he heard a voice in the kitchen. "My goodness!" cried the voice. "What a mess!" Lisa's mother, thought Corduroy. He listened to her feet. Click, click, click. They walked one way. Click, click, click. They walked the other way. Sweep, bang, clank. Corduroy listened some more. The feet ran upstairs and into the bathroom. He heard a shout. The feet ran downstairs. Corduroy came out from under the boxes. He felt terrible. He had not made a cake for Lisa. He had just made a mess. But then Corduroy had an idea. He picked up a pink button. Neat! And a green button. Cool! And another and another. Corduroy got some glue and got to work. Soon he forgot about the cake and the mess. He even forgot he felt terrible until, click, 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 Lisa's mother. Corduroy hid inside the box. Creak! The door opened. "What's this?" said her mother. "It must be for Lisa." She picked up the box with Corduroy and took him away. Then she put the box on a table. Corduroy heard things from inside the box. He heard the doorbell. Ding dong, ding dong. He heard children's voices. He heard laughter and horns. Then he heard a voice say, "Where's Corduroy?" It was Lisa. "Corduroy will turn up," said her mother. "It's time for presents." "Yes," cried her friends. "Open your presents." So Lisa did. She opened a big present. "A tea set," said Lisa. She opened a little present. "A necklace," she said. Then she picked up the box with Corduroy. "This box looks like a cake," said Lisa. She shook the box. Corduroy went up and down. She shook it again. Corduroy went from side to side. Then Lisa took off the lid and looked inside. "Corduroy!" she cried. Lisa picked Corduroy up. She held him close. "I love my corduroy cake," said Lisa. Corduroy felt very proud. "Happy birthday, Lisa," he thought. "Happy birthday," said her friends. Everyone blew party horns. Then they shouted, "Hooray for Lisa! Hooray for Corduroy!" And hooray for my corduroy cake, thought Corduroy. Corduroy's Easter Party, based on the character created by Don Freeman, illustrated by Lisa McCue. It was the day before Easter, and Corduroy and his friends were at the playground. Puppy was having no luck getting his kite up in the air, but he didn't mind. Everyone was happy because tomorrow they were having an Easter party. Dolly said, "I can't wait to see what the Easter Bunny brings us." The party was going to be at Corduroy's house. Mouse made a list of all the things they would need. "Do you think the Easter Bunny likes jelly beans?" Mouse said. "Don't forget to put down eggs," Dolly said. "We need lots to decorate for the Easter Bunny." Corduroy didn't say anything. Everyone else had no doubt that the Easter Bunny was real, but deep down, Corduroy wasn't so sure. After all, nobody had ever seen the Easter Bunny. Still, Corduroy didn't want to spoil the fun. He kept his doubts to himself. By the time they were ready to go shopping, it was raining outside, so the friends put on their raincoats and their boots, and they brought their umbrellas. Mouse rode in the wagon. Rabbit caught raindrops on her tongue. Puppy jumped right in the middle of every single puddle. Kersplash! Their first stop was the general store. They bought everything they needed to dye Easter eggs. Mouse picked out a big bag of jelly beans with plenty of red ones because those were his favorites. Corduroy found some pretty colored Easter baskets, and he also found a funny bunny hat. Do you see it tucked away on a bottom shelf? "I am the Easter Bunny," Corduroy said. "No, silly," said Mouse. "The real Easter Bunny will be here tomorrow, but let's all get party hats." So they did. Dolly looked beautiful in her bonnet with flowers on the brim. Puppy and Rabbit picked out very silly hats. Puppy's looked like an Easter basket. Rabbit's had little chicks all over it. In a little while, the rain ended and the sun came out. So Corduroy and his friends walked to their next stop, the farm. They were having so much fun petting and saying hello to the animals that they almost forgot why they came, to buy eggs for decorating. Luckily, Dolly remembered. Now, did they have everything for the party? Not yet. On their way home, the friends passed a meadow filled with flowers. There were daffodils and tulips and daisies. So they all picked little flower bouquets to use as decorations for the party. Corduroy could hardly wait to see how pretty his house was going to look. Then Dolly and Rabbit hurried back to Corduroy's house with the party things. But Puppy was very thirsty from all the walking, so Corduroy and Mouse waited for him while he had a little drink. Mouse lay back and daydreamed in the sun. "I'm so excited about Easter," he said. "Me too," said Puppy. Corduroy was too. He wanted to believe in the Easter Bunny just like everybody else. But how could he know for sure? Back at Corduroy's house, nobody could wait to start decorating eggs. They made pink ones, blue ones, ones with spots and stripes and swirls. When they were dry, Corduroy gathered up all the eggs and put them in a basket. It had been a very busy day, but now, finally, everything was ready for their Easter party the next day. It was the best party ever. They had cookies and finger sandwiches cut into tiny triangles and the most delicious fruit punch.
Mouse ate so many red jelly beans he almost got a tummy ache. Everybody wore their brand new hats. Dolly looked at Rabbit and giggled. "The chicks on your hat look so real I wouldn't be surprised if they started peeping," she said. And what was the perfect dance to do at an Easter party? Why, the bunny hop, of course. Corduroy led the way with his bunny ears flopping as he hopped up and down. Rabbit was a natural at the bunny hop. Mouse got tired because his legs were shorter, but Dolly helped him keep up. "Bunny hopping sure is good exercise," said Mouse, all out of breath. Then it was time to go outside for the Easter egg hunt. Each of them hid a few eggs and then the hunt began. "Only one rule," said Corduroy. "No fair finding the eggs you hid yourself." Corduroy peeked into the flowers. He saw some eggs, but they weren't the Easter kind. They were pretty blue robin's eggs. After the hunt, everyone sat down on the grass and counted their eggs. "What a perfect Easter," said Dolly. "There's just one thing left." "A visit from the Easter Bunny," said Rabbit. "When do you think he will come?" asked Mouse. Corduroy did not know what to say. Easter was just about over, and still no sign of you-know-who. But look! When Corduroy and his friends went back inside, there was a big surprise, a huge Easter basket filled with all kinds of candy. Can you guess who it was from? Yes, it was from the Easter Bunny himself. He had come and gone while all the friends were outside, and he had even left them a note. As they sat around the table, eating the chocolate the Easter Bunny had left, Corduroy was so surprised and so happy. The Easter Bunny is real, he thought. Now he knew it for sure, and that was the best Easter surprise of all. Happy Easter, everybody!